Hi there. I'm Christine Dunbar from speechmodification.com, and this is my Smart American Accent Training. Welcome to our free live Saturday question and answer class. Each week, we meet and take your questions about American accent, American English pronunciation, how to pronounce words, sounds, anything that will be helpful to you to improve your overall fluency and pronunciation in American English. Sorry, we're a little late getting started this morning. I was having some technical difficulties. But now we're here. Do feel free to leave your questions at any time in the chat and I'll cover them for you. At the beginning today, I wanted to talk a little bit more about, first of all, the pronunciation of these two words, through and through, but more so about how spelling and sounds are two different things. I think oftentimes, our accent patterns come from our native language, from sounds that are difficult to pronounce, from the way we hear English. We develop a sound system in our brain, in our native language, that doesn't always translate over into our second, third, fourth additional languages. So many of you have accent patterns because of the native language, but then there's also sometimes issues that result from how English is spelled because we're not consistent in how we spell sounds, and we have a limited number of ways of spelling different things. And so talking about what sounds you can hear in a word versus what letters we use to spell those sounds can be a useful topic. So the words through and through have the same pronunciation, and they're a good example of, some of these strange things that happen in spelling. So the sounds in the word through are the TH sound, and we do have two different sounds for TH. So it's in this word, it's the th sound. We also sometimes use the letters TH to spell the th sound. That would be something more like in that or those. The symbol for that is like this. So these are the IPA symbols, or International Phonetic Alphabet. So this is the voiced TH, and it's in words like that or those or breathe. This is the voiceless TH, so I don't have to turn my voice on to make that sound. And it's in these words: through, think, with, both, etc. Although with, some people say with, some people say with, both are correct. At any rate, the first sound is this sound. We always pretty much spell that with TH. So I've rewritten it here for you with TH. It's the same in both of these. So there's two letters to do the one sound. Of course, we have a T sound and an H sound. And, this is pretty basic that when we see TH, we know to do th or th. But if you think about it, T on its own does different things. H on its own does different things. Then we have the sound, through. Again, fairly consistently spelled with letter R. And the good thing about American R is that when you see an R, you say an R. So in some other dialects of English, they do different things for R in different places. They might roll or flap the R. They might drop the R out. So British English might say bird. American English, we say bird. When you see an R, you need a tight back tongue. It always has that sound. For a lot of people, the combination of the th and the sound is challenging. It's because it has two challenging sounds in English. Also, the tongue position is a little challenging here. So looking at the th sound, our tongue is resting between our teeth and the air is flowing. The sound, the tongue is pulled back, either curled or bunched back and tight. And so the way I suggest getting this THR sound is to start with the R sound, and let's put it together with the vowel sound in this word to make it more natural. So trying roo, through. So when you start with the R sound, roo, you can feel where the tongue should be. Then you can just sneak the tongue forward for a quick TH sound before the R, roo, through. My tongue needs to be kind of ready, almost already in that R position, and then just adding that TH sound. If I start with the TH sound, by the time I try to get back to the R sound, I might end up with a little bit of a vowel like through. I don't want any sound between my TH and my R, not through, but through. The other error that often happens for people here is you may have your R in all of the other contexts, and then when it comes to THR, it still wants to roll in the front like through. It's because the TH is really close to that front tapped or rolled R, and it's easier to do through than through. And so even though you might be able to say ride, bird, ready with the American R, when it comes to THR, it's one of those ones that's a little bit more stubborn. So starting with the R and adding the TH is my suggestion. Our last sound in the word is the sound oo. The IPA symbol for that is the letter lowercase u. We often spell oo with two O's, like in school or food. I'm thinking of how we use two O's to spell the sound too. But in these words, it's kind of unusual because this OUGH, we use that for in rough and tough, or ah in thought and ought. This EW we use for ooh and also you. So we don't, in through, we don't have any gliding y sound. So in few, for example, it's a y and an oo. So of course it's confusing. I can't look at the letters and know for sure what the sounds are. So if I can learn a little bit, at least on vowel sounds or some sounds that I may have issues with, learn the symbols for the sounds, it can be really helpful. You can also use this inventive spelling where if you see a TH, an R, and an OO, your brain is probably going to do through. These words, I would say this one, people don't have too much trouble. This one is often confusing because it looks so much like the other things I mentioned. Tough, which actually has a schwa and an F, and thought, which actually has an ah, and a T. At any rate, I do have some videos talking about specifically THR, the words thought, through, thorough, some other related words spelling wise. This was just an example to show you a little bit more about sounds versus spelling, reading the dictionary, and why it could be helpful for you. If you have comments or questions about this particular topic, looking for those particular videos, I will come back and give you some links to get to those. You can also find out about every sound in American English, vowels, consonants, the spelling, the sounds, error patterns you may have on the sounds in our Sounds of English course on speechmodification.com. The great thing about our online courses is that they're all available for either $2, under $2, or for free. And they're a great resource to help you understand accent error patterns, the elements of speaking and correcting pronunciation in English, giving you that foundation to be able to say anything you want in English and be confident that you know you're pronouncing it correctly. So check those out on speechmodification.com if you haven't already. Okay, so welcome. It's nice to see so many of you here today. I will go now to your questions. Feel free to put your questions in at any time. And if you're watching this as a rebroadcast, you can add your questions in the comments. I'll come back and respond to you later on as well. Good morning, Eddie. Nice to see you. So yes, Eddie is right on cue with me about thorough. So thorough just means, I hope I did a thorough job of explaining that to you. It means complete or covering everything necessary. And thorough has our same TH sound, first syllable stress. In thorough, the letters OR say the ER sound. So we're going to have a tense or a stressed So it'll sound like thur. You can think of that as an ER sound. I wrote it here with IR because it's the same as what we put in third. So thur is going to be stressed. And then in this spelling, the OUGH says O, thorough, which is just the diphthong O. So you can also think about it like sometimes in the dictionary you might see thorough with the R. They have some different ways of using IPA. So looking at it as thorough. Yeah, that's a tough one too. I do have a video about through and thorough because of how how similarly they're spelled, but how different they sound. Good question. Thank you, Eddie. Okay. Eddie has another question. Does the y sound appear in the ending ing, like horrifying, playing, notifying? Yes. So when I have an ing ending, my y sound is not automatically going to be there. Like if I said working, it's not working, right? It's only there in your examples like playing, notifying, that there was an I sound before the ing. Or an A sound. So it happens between, the y sound happens between two vowels that are not rounded. If I had, for example, throwing, then I go from the O to the I of ing, and I'm going to have this w sound, throwing. It's not going to be in the dictionary. That's the round to non-round vowel to vowel linking, throwing. Playing, notifying. If there's an a non-rounded vowel going to the ing, then we have the y sound. So sometimes it'll be written with a y in the word, sometimes it won't. But if you have a vowel before the ing, it's either going to have a y or a w sound, depending on if it's unrounded or a rounded vowel. Great question. And I believe you have seen my vowel to vowel linking video. If not, I'll put the link here for the others as well to learn a little bit more about those hidden gliding sounds between vowels. Great. Thank you so much. We have a question about diet and diet, whether they sound the same. So I'm going to, instead of writing die it, because we wouldn't really use that combination, I'll use the verb, like to dye clothes. Like I'm going to dye it blue, or my hair, I'm going to dye it pink, and dye it. They will sound the same. I'm going to dye it. I'm going to dye it. I'm going to dye it blue. I'm going to dye it for 2 weeks. And they both will have diet, a little bit of that intrusive Y that you mentioned. Same thing. It's that vowel to vowel linking, that when I'm going from the I to the it, we just naturally, because of the shape of the mouth, have a gliding sound. I don't need to stick that in more. I don't want diet, yit with a strong glide. But unless if I make a break, die it, then there won't be any gliding. Naturally, these would link in most phrases. The only time they might not is if I were saying, no, I said die it, not buy it. If I was like intentionally breaking between the words to be extra clear, but naturally these two would sound the same. That's a great question. Thank you. Okay. We have a question about how to pronounce 30th. Yeah, that's a good one. So 30th, written out, 30th. I do have a video about ordinal numbers that talks about when we add th or st or erd, third, fourth, fifth, etc. Those can be really difficult for people because the th sound is difficult, and then adding it on top of other sounds can be hard. In 30th, what's happening here is that this T is going to be a flap. So it's going to sound more like 30th. In some ways, it's easier because the th it's not like fifth, where I have to do multiple consonants in a row. I have the vowel sounds here. This is another example, eeth, where I'm going to have a little bit of that gliding yes sound between the e and the I. And then this is another example where it's spelled with IR. It is the sound. First syllable stress here. So what I would suggest for this is just break it down syllable by syllable. Go slowly. 30th. And that I would hope that would help you. Also, just knowing that this is an E sound, this is an I sound. 30th. It kind of doesn't really make sense. It's like the opposite of how it's spelled is how it sounds. Yeah, okay. Generally for ordinal numbers, practicing 4 and then 4th, 6 and 6th, breaking down what the actual sounds are and just building one at a time. I have a specific video for 6th, for 4th, also for ordinal numbers in general that teaches you some patterns to help you with those. Great question. Thank you so much. Okay, we have a question about whether or not it's difficult to understand IPA. Not really. I mean, I would say that it's not necessary to learn every symbol of the IPA, or I think just recognizing for vowel sounds, it's pretty useful. You can learn different sound systems or different ways of representing the sounds depending on what resources you like. So I often use the Oxford Learner's Dictionary or the American Learner's Dictionary. And you can look in the dictionary and see what symbols they use for which sounds. The most important thing is to have a consistent way of recognizing what the sounds are. So for example, if I see letter I don't know what it's going to say. But if I know that it often says the I diphthong or the I sound, like in 5 or in 5th, for example. Here we have I, glide, and here we have I, like in big 5th, my 5. The vowel letter doesn't tell me what sound it makes. So I think it's worth getting a little bit of help with that. One suggestion I have is I do have videos and in my online course help for each vowel sound. Excuse me. Oh, sorry about that. And what I use is I teach you where the vowels are made. So we have the E, the I, the A, the the A, etc. So you can get a sense of how they sound and how you make them with your mouth. And then I also will teach anchor words. So we have, for example, green tea, associate it with that symbol for the E that has a spelling of the E and the EE and EA, common spellings of it. So we have green tea, pink pig, gray day, red tent, black cat, etc. for all of the different vowels. Learning the most common spelling patterns, some anchor words that you can compare to, so that when I'm looking at 5 and hearing 5 or 5th, I can hear, okay, 5, that's not an E. Green 5, I can hear they sound different. But if I hear white, light 5 versus gray or pink, pig, 5th, I can hear those vowel sounds and have something to compare to. So yes, I think it's worth exploring learning IPA. The other advantage is that you can find which vowel sounds are the same in your native language and in English. And that's often very helpful so that you can use those anchor words. You can build some from your native language as well as, oh, this is the same sound. For example, if you're a Spanish speaker, the E would be the same as your E, or the ah sound would be fairly similar to your ah, that you can learn the difference between, for example, last and lost by comparing those vowel sounds. Okay. We have a question about the difference between a lot of and lots of. Not much difference, really. A lot of people or lots of people. So depending on what the noun is that you're using them with, they can mean the exact same thing. I have lots of time. I have a lot of time. There may be some where you can only use one or the other. I would just Google that. Somebody's probably written a really good essay about which to use when, but just off the top of my head. They're somewhat interchangeable depending on the context. Great. Great. So Eddie is just commenting about the y sound and how he hadn't learned about that before. So vowel to vowel linking is pretty common and is one of the natural things we do in English. Okay, well, thank you for the great questions today. And the topic of sounds and spelling, hidden sounds, it was kind of a good theme for our lesson. I'll be back again next Saturday with another live question and answer class, as well as every day this week and every day with our Word of the Day series. That's our class each day where I talk about a particular word and its pronunciation. And those are all requests from you, the viewers. So thank you so much for your questions today, for liking, commenting, and sharing. Thanks so much to those of you who have joined as channel members, and we'll have our members class as well this week. And thank you for those of you who have subscribed. I really do appreciate the support. I'm Christine Dunbar from speechmodification.com. Remember, if you want to sound like a native speaker, you can do it. speechmodification.com. Bye, everyone. Hope to see you in our next class as well.